Hi guys, and welcome back to another live seminar on the Barber Coach TV. Now, this is an interactive seminar, so feel free at any time to leave a message in the comments. And if you want to speak, I've muted all your microphones, but if you wish to speak, just leave a comment. I'll try and keep an eye on them as I'm speaking and presenting, and I'll try and invite you on then so we discuss the topic together. But if you're happy with just listening to me, that's no problem at all. I'll present today's topic is Barber Block real? And we'll go through what Barber Block is. If you're not sure what that is, we'll discuss it. I'll give you examples of it and things you may come across in the barber shop. And if you're not aware of Barber Block, you might just be getting a bit frustrated and losing your morale when it comes to barbering. But I'm hoping that by educating you on Barber Block, you'll know how to deal with it. You'll know how to break out of that cycle, get your mojo back, get fired up, and get motivated. So, Barber Block. So if you don't know what that is, Barber Block is made up of so many different factors. Now, for example, sometimes you may find that the cut doesn't seem to be as clean or as comfortable as it normally would. You may find that you're taking longer doing haircuts. You may find you're getting frustrated as you're cutting, that things just don't quite seem to be going to plan. Sometimes it could just be a case of you find it difficult to converse with customers. You find it difficult to sort of interact and put that face on and pretend you're happy, pretend you want to hear what they've got to say. You know, it's made up of so many different things. And sometimes it squeezes you to the point where you just feel like you don't want to do this anymore. Now, does that resonate with any of you? Is that something that you've been familiar with? Nearly every barber I've spoken to has come across it. They might not have known its name. They might not have known that it's called Barber Block. But every barber I speak to, they get to a point where they say to me, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I'm not really enjoying barbering anymore. But it normally comes down to a number of little frustrating things that cause you to question whether this is the career for you. Now, you might have been barbering for 10 months or 10 years. Everybody is vulnerable to Barber Block. Let me just check the comments because I'm on my phone. So basically, I was going to do this on my laptop. I ordered a new webcam, which hasn't worked. And the webcam on my laptop isn't very good quality. So the reason why it's portrait today and not landscape is because I've gone onto my phone to access the meeting. So I can't actually see if anything's come up in the comments. I've actually got to tap the screen and see if anybody's messaging. Okay, no problem at all. So we'll carry on. You're obviously happy with listening to what I've got to say. So that's great. So basically, it could happen at any time in your career. It might happen many of times in your career. Or you might be lucky and you've never had it. You love barbering and you've never felt that this isn't for you. And you've never reached that point that you want to change career. And you're just happy with what you've got and how things are. Well, congratulations. You're very rare. Regardless of how rewarding barbering is, everybody reaches a point of hitting the wall of Barber Block. Everybody reaches that point where they think, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And it normally comes down to the frustration in the application. So what I mean by that is, if your cuts were still flowing comfortably, if your cuts were still quite quick and efficient, if your customers were still really energetic and happy with your cuts, and that interaction with them was still energetic and you're still happy to see them, the money was still flowing comfortably or increasing, if everything still went according to plan and according to how you'd imagine a barbering career would be, then you're not going to reach Barber Block. So we need to start asking ourselves, what is causing this problem? Now, although there's a number of areas that could cause us to be frustrated in this job. Now, for instance, if you are really finding it difficult and you feel sick about the thought of coming to work, and you feel sick about the thought of touching a customer's head again. I'd say that's beyond Barber Block. If you reach that point, there's something else we need to address. Barber Block is basically frustration, but you don't know why. You don't really want to cut a certain customer's hair, but you don't know why. The cuts aren't really as good as they used to be, but you don't know why. You're taking longer to a haircut, but you don't know why. That's Barber Block. But if you know why you hate things, if you've got a problem with a colleague in work, or if a customer has seriously offended you and it's put you off barbering, if you've made a massive mistake and it's, you've hurt someone, or, you've really sort of embarrassed yourself or somebody, and that's put you off wanting to do it again. That's not Barber Block. That's obviously a scenario and a situation that you have experienced that is obviously that has scarred you in some way and has completely put you off carrying on in the industry. Is that fixable? I say, yeah, anything's fixable with the right mindset and the right attitude. And in that situation, communication is always key. If it's a member of staff, you need to speak to them, regardless of how bad it goes, regardless of how heated it may get. You have to speak to them, and you have to lay the law down and put the line down and say, look, I don't appreciate this. I don't like how this happened. This is making me feel like this. I don't want to come to work anymore. I'm having anxiety at the thought of working next to you. We need to deal with this. We need to deal with this. Not you need to change. You need to do this. You need to do that, because it could be a two-way thing. You may have done something or said something without realizing who's upset them, and then they've been, there's always a two-way thing. So have that conversation. Just have it, because then it's done. Whether it gets heated or not, the fear and the anxiety of that confrontation then goes. It's the fear of the confrontation is what's holding you back, not the confrontation. Just have it out, but have it out politely and have it out professionally. Don't do it in the salon. Don't do it in the barber shop. Speak to them. Ask if you can have a coffee with them. Ask if you can speak to them after work. Ask if you can have a meeting with them during work. Whatever it is, do it professionally, but be clear and be honest. Get that off your chest. Work it out between you, and I guarantee you'll come to an agreement, and both of you will sort it out, and everything will be okay. If you've hurt a customer, if you really made a mistake and you've messed up and you're worried what people are going to say, you're worried about what people are saying, speak to those people. Speak to the customer. Message them again afterwards and say how sorry you are, and if there's any way you can make up for it. And obviously, I don't believe that anyone's going to purposely try to hurt someone. So that at any point, if it's a mistake, the customer at some point will reason with it and will accept your apology, but it's always the right thing to do to approach that customer and communicate about the situation. Say, look, that episode that I made this mistake, or I cut you, or whatever, been really playing on my mind. It's been really affecting me to the point I don't want to go to work anymore. I really want to speak to you about it. I really want to ask if everything's okay, or if this has affected you in some way. I really need to know about it. And I guarantee you, they're thinking about it a lot less than what you are. Just if a customer's been very rude to you, if they're very inappropriate, stand your ground. Tell that customer, I don't want you coming back to the shop. Tell your manager, I'm not comfortable cutting this customer's hair. I don't want to be here when they are here. I don't appreciate how they spoke to me. Speak. Communication is key. It is so important that you speak out and speak up and deal with things. It's the fear of that confrontation or that fear of communication is what's holding you back. So in serious circumstances, if you're feeling that fear that you no longer want to continue in barbering, or potentially you do want to continue, but the experience that you've had has got you to a point that you don't know a way around it, then you've got nothing to lose. You may as well speak to these people and see if you can fix it. If you can't, if that person, I don't know, sues you, the one that you potentially injured, or if the person that you have a confrontation with becomes aggressive and, when it does go horribly wrong and you feel like that's the end of it and I have to walk away from it, then and that's fine. It's not failure. It's never failure. It's always experience. Whether you never go back into barbering or not, it's never a failure. Whether you're disappointed that you wish you could carry on, but that event has scarred you too much, then fine, walk away from it. Never keep putting yourself into a position or into a situation that's going to make you uneasy or make you unhappy. We don't live as long as we'd like to live. It's a short life. We need to try and put things in place to ensure our happiness, our safety, and our comfort. But going back to Barber Block, that's a little less extreme. it's generally a build-up of frustrations. And it's sometimes hard to identify what these frustrations are because it could be a collection of lots of little ones. Now, the truth of it is 9 times out of 10, this is going to sound crazy, but I promise you it'll work. 9 times out of 10, you reach Barber Block because your tools aren't cutting as well as they should be or have been. And you've not realized it. They may have only lost a little bit of quality, or the blade may have lost that little bit of sharpness, and you're not cutting as clean as you were. You seem to have to go over the same area a few times with a clipper, and at first you don't realize it. And after a while, when you realize, heck, that's taking an extra 10 minutes, you find that the cuts aren't as clean as they were. You find that maybe customers aren't quite as happy as they have been, and you think to yourself, well, I don't know what I'm doing different. I'm doing everything the same, but I don't understand why things have changed. I don't understand why this is happening. I promise you, change your tools, and it'll all go back to normal. The tools will be cutting cleaner, and if they're cutting cleaner, it means your work's going to be faster because you're not having to go over the same ground or over the same areas. If your scissors isn't cutting very well, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to cut someone's hair and your scissors is blunt. And it might be just a little bit too blunt, but it still feels like it is cutting, but you still feel like you've got to just go at it a little bit more. That little bit more that you've got to keep doing will wear you out and will really frustrate you. So there's 2 things you can do in this scenario. Service everything. Maybe you haven't given your clippers a good service in a while. Maybe you're finding that your station just needs a good clean. If you've got, like we've got toolboxes in ours, and sometimes we blow dry them down and spray them disinfectant and try and wipe them and things, they just get cluttered and things go in the wrong drawers, and then you're looking for stuff, and because you're looking for stuff, your cut's taking a bit longer, and it's just, you're less organized. So first things first, make sure you're organized. Make sure your station is clean, as everything is where it should be. Because if you're putting everything back efficiently and you're making sure everything's in the right place and is clean, hygienic, and tidy, then that removes that potential element of frustration. It makes it easier when you're grabbing your tools. It makes that process quicker as you're applying the cuts because you know where everything is. So that's already going to make your life a little bit easier. Take the blades off your clippers, give them a good clean, give them a proper clean, give them a proper wipe, give them a proper oiling. And if you're not in a position where you can buy or purchase new stuff, send them off to be serviced, get the batteries changed. It'll be a lot cheaper. There's companies out there, and there's many of them, and especially on social media and things. And if you need to know of any, give me a message on Instagram, _barber_coach, and I'll put you in touch with a few. But as it stands, I don't know their Instagram names off the top of my head right now, hence why I can't advise you on who these people are. But I know of people that you can send your clippers to. They'll change the blades, they'll change the batteries, they'll send it back. It'll be like new, and it'll cost you a fraction of the price of potentially buying new products. But if you haven't upgraded your clipper in over 12 months, or you haven't upgraded or sharpened your scissors in over 12 months, then you're probably due an upgrade. Even if you wanted to send them off and get them serviced, yes, they probably will work better. But there's nothing nicer than just purchasing something new, feeling like you've got a new toy, feeling like that you've got that upgraded tool or the newer model or whatever. It just gives you that little bit more motivation and enthusiasm as you come to it, because you can't wait to try it. You can't wait to apply it. So there's something really nice about investing in yourself and investing in your tools and upgrading to better products. And I promise you, once you've done that, your cutting will be quicker, your cutting will be better, your cutting will be more efficient, your cutting will be cleaner, your customers will be happier. 9 times out of 10, the Barber Block problem sets in slowly but efficiently, and before you know it, you're frustrated and you want to give up and you don't know why. Change your tools, upgrade your tools, service your tools, and I promise you, all that will change. Cuts will fly again. And if anything, because you have to adapt to potentially a new tool if you upgrade, and you've got to get used to maybe the levers, and you've got to get used to how sharp the blade cuts and how close it cuts, though you've got to sort of learn your process again a little bit, there's something exciting about that, because you've got to think about what you're doing. You're not just in that consistent autopilot where you just go through the motions, and that will also bring you down and make you feel less efficient, because you're not really having to think too much about things, especially if you're experienced. You're just going through the motions. It's like a conveyor belt, it's one in, one out, one in, one out. You're not really having to think about it. But as creative beings, we get euphoria of new challenges and succeeding in something and improving in something. It's important to keep putting ourselves in a position that we challenge ourselves, that we can bring the best out of ourselves, and we don't really do that enough. So if we've got into that motion of autopilot and we're just going through the motions and not really having to think about things, we're not being stimulated as we should be as human beings. So by purchasing a new tool, you've got to get to know that tool. You've got to get to know how it works. You've got to get to know the feel of that tool again. And that challenge will actually inspire you, and you'll sense that feeling of reward at the end of every day once you've tried something new out, learned something new, seen a new process, So 9 times out of 10, if you're facing barber block and you're really struggling in work and you've lost your motivation, you don't know why, change your tools. Clean your station, reorganize it, get rid of all the old, chuck stuff out, and I promise you, you will feel inspired, you will feel refreshed, and you will feel ready to go. Now, the only other things that could cause barber block, but isn't related to tools, would probably be the customer scenario. Now, I would say, actually, I can't put a figure on it, but I would say that when it comes to just cutting, if you're not having problems with your customers, if you're not feeling frustrated with your customers, if you're not feeling frustrated with money and work hours and that sort of thing, then barber block will come from your tools. Get them changed, 9 times out of 10, it'll be fine. But if you're still feeling slightly frustrated with work, if you're still feeling slightly frustrated with potentially certain customers, if you're feeling frustrated with the money you might be making or the hours you may be working, you're not sure 100% what it is, you're just feeling a bit frustrated, but your cutting is fine and your cutting times are still just as good, and it's not the tools, or you've had new tools and you still don't feel quite right, then we are getting closer to the more severe situation, as I discussed at the beginning. And it's a difficult one when it comes to customers, because obviously I don't know your scenario, so it's hard for me to give a scenario on what your experience may be. But for me, for instance, and again, communication always fixes everything. For me, for instance, I have a very, very small number of customers that, and this didn't make me want to quit my job, it didn't make me feel so sort of frustrated that I didn't want to be a barber anymore. But I may see that one customer where maybe they are, how can I say this politically correct or appropriately, less hygienic, and I charge, I'm the most expensive barber in my area. And normally when you put your prices up to a certain level, you sort of eradicate, I don't know if that's the right word, you eliminate a certain clientele. Now, again, that sounds very arrogant. I don't choose to eliminate anybody, but as my prices go up, my clientele changes. So obviously people with more money come to me then for haircuts. But that doesn't mean that because they've got more money that they may be less smelly. So obviously I get a lot less, troublesome customers, or, unfortunately, people of poverty. But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't make them a bad person at all. But potential criminals, drug dealers, that sort of thing. I get a lot less of them because of the prices I charge, and because I'm fully booked and they don't have the patience to wait and things like that. So the people that do wait for me then are valued customers, because they appreciate what I do and they're prepared to book in advance and they're prepared to pay what I charge because they appreciate me. So 99.9% of the time, I've never got an issue with any of my customers. And even the ones that do make me feel a bit frustrated, I still don't have issues with them personally. I still like them as people. But so, for instance, going back to it before I went off on a tangent, I do have a customer who may come straight from work, but maybe on the way to the shop from work, they'll go to the gym, and then they'll come to the barber shop, the third stop, be very sweaty, very smelly because they've been working hard all day. But the smell of it for them They probably haven't showered in the morning before going to work from work the day before. Then they've gone to the gym, which has just enhanced it. And I see their name down. I just know it's going to be a pain. I just know I'm going to have to like change the gowns. Because what we do is we've got a rotation of gowns in the shops, and we don't necessarily change a gown for every customer. My biggest shop has 6 barbers in there. We potentially do 50 to 20 haircuts per barber per day. Do the maths on the gowns. So what we generally do is we have a rotation of gowns, 2 to 3 gowns that we need during the day, and we'll rotate them. And if someone messes one up or dirties one, then we rotate it, we'll change it. But after the end of every customer, we disinfect it, we clip aside it, and rotate it. Well, so while that's drying, we rotate it to another one, so they've not got clip aside all over their clothes. And so that's how we do it. You just know then, with this customer coming in, I'm going to eliminate a gown completely because I can't reuse that. I can't rotate it that day because it's going to be so smelly. So it's just like, it's really frustrating. And then it's the challenge of having to tactically breathe as I'm cutting their hair because of certain smells. It's like, really? And I just used to think, well, you can't tell them, pity, it's not fair on them, we don't know their home situation, we don't know their life. So I don't want to be saying to them, oh, flipping it, why do you smell so bad, or whatever. You can't do that. We know that anyway. So I just wouldn't say anything. And then, but it was affecting me. It was frustrating me. And I was thinking to myself, I do this job because I want to be happy. And I've chosen to do this job, and I've chosen to open my own shop because I want to do things my way. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have got to a position where I'm so fully booked that if maybe I lost 1 or 2 customers, I probably wouldn't notice, or it will actually give space for other customers who wash. So, again, how do we fix these things? Communication. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be feeling like this. I don't want to feel anxious or stressed every time I see this person's name down, So I just thought to myself, I'm going to say something, but I'm going to say something professionally, but I won't say it to their face. Not because I'm a coward, but because that would be in a barbershop environment, and that wouldn't be very fair for them. It'd be quite embarrassing for them. So I messaged them before they came in, because again, communication fixes everything. It is key. Whether it upsets them or not, it'll resolve your situation. But just dealing with it and putting up with it and not facing it, then you're just making it worse and harder for yourself. So I just messaged them and said, "Hi mate, I know you come to the shop straight from work sometimes, but I find it difficult cutting your hair if it's full of product or if it's full of oil, for instance, if this one's a mechanic, So if it's full of oil, and also if you go to the gym and things and sweat a bit before you come in, it normally opens up the cuticles of your hair follicles based on the heat and the sweat, which makes it a lot harder for me to get my comb and things through it. So I'm just wondering, before you come in, would you mind just giving your hair a quick wash? And maybe just changing your jumper or changing your overalls or something like that, because trying to think excuse me. I don't think how I worded it didn't offend them. That's how I said about the hair. I said, be careful, give the hair a wash because the cuticles being open makes it harder for me to cut your hair. But the clothes used to smell as well. It should really, really smell. And let me see. I don't think it was inappropriate. This was a long time ago. And they've been coming back since, and they've been washing their hair, and they've been putting a new change of clothes on. I said, because the last time you came in, unfortunately, some of the oil from your clothes got off onto my gown. It's ruined the gown, so I just don't want to be, wasting money on gowns and things. If you just wouldn't mind just maybe putting a change of clothes on and giving your hair a wash before you come in, it just makes my life so much easier. I hope I haven't offended you. It's just to make my life easier, that's all, because it takes me so much longer to cut your hair when it's dirty, blah, blah, blah. So you can word it technically and tactically, but still get your point across without being offensive. And they embraced it, and they were fine. Oh yes, mate, no worries, yeah, no problem at all. But I give them enough notice to do that. I didn't text them an hour before the appointment because they may not have prepared or had the time to do that. So just let them know the day before, at least the morning before, so they are aware of what you need from them. Same with product. If if you haven't got backwash facilities in your shops and your customers come in and you know their hair's always full of product and it makes your life so much harder, do the same. Just give them a quick message and say, oh, look, mate, do you mind giving your hair a wash before you come in? Just so that it just saves me time and trying to remove all the product. Plus, cutting through wax and gel and things can damage my scissors. So just so that I'm more efficient when I'm cutting your hair and all the hair isn't sticking to your skin because it's full of wet gel, if you can give your hair a quick wash before you come in, I'd be very, very grateful. I hope you don't mind me saying. Just get it done. Just communicate, just get it across. And you'll start to find when you're not being a doormat and you're speaking up and you're communicating to people, but effectively and professionally, that sort of burden, that sort of barber block sort of frustration that you think, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I want to see this customer anymore. I love this job. I love this career. I love this profession, but there's just this situation is bugging me, or that situation is bugging me, or there could be an accumulation of them, and they're all just sort of getting too much for you. Face them, communicate with the people, and if it comes down to the cutting, then just change your tools. I promise that will work. But if, you know, like I mentioned before, if it's a colleague, just say to them, oh, look, mate, I don't appreciate when you potentially, I'm just thinking of scenarios now, oh, when you make fun of me in front of customers, I know it's just a bit of banter and you're just being, you know, you're just trying to be funny. But like, sometimes I get so frustrated in work and I've really got to concentrate, and like I come across then negative to you because maybe like I haven't quite got the joke and things. So just, can we just leave off maybe on the personal jokes? Do you know what I mean? I'm talking about like a male-oriented barbershop now, because I know what it's like in my barbershop, and I'm always the one that's getting told off for winding people up. But communicate. So even if it's customers and they're dirty customers, or they complain about money, who cares? If you're not happy, then don't put up with it. Don't put up with it. You're not a doormat. You don't owe your customers anything. So you may have that one customer always goes, oh, that's too much. I'm not paying you that much. Or I'll just give you 15 quid, for instance, because I've got one of them customers. And I used to be like, oh, fair enough. Yeah, sound okay. And I go to myself, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing it. So I put my prices up again. So every time we're in a scenario, someone's winding you up on price and all the rest of it, put them up. Put them up again and say, oh, look, you know, I'll charge you £15 this time, but on the next haircut, all my prices are going up. If it's your shop, say, you know, due to an increase in costs, I've got to put my price up. I'm really sorry. If it's not your shop, blame your manager. I always tell my barbers to blame me. I'll say to my customers, or I'll tell them, say to their customers, oh, unfortunately, I've got to put the prices up because Matthew's put the rent up, or Matthew's increasing the prices, so it's out of our control. That's the new price is going to be this moving forward. I'm really sorry. And just tell them, just lay it out there. But yeah, I saw one customer that used to be like, oh, my haircut doesn't take me long, does it? So I'm only going to pay you an OAP's rate, and this guy's like 40. And I just went, oh, I thought, oh, fair enough, you know, whatever. Took the money. After the third or fourth time, he was getting fussier and fussier, and then he was turning up late, so he was putting me behind. And then one day, he was like, oh, I don't want too much off the top this time, just quickly do the sides. Did that. 2 days later, he's like, oh, actually, the top's too long. Can you cut that for me? So I'm getting frustrated then, fitting them back in, cutting the top, and thinking, oh, I don't know if I need this crap anymore. And I thought to myself, why am I putting up with it? I don't owe this person anything. I only know them because they book in with me for haircuts. It's not like, you know, my parent or a family member or anything like that, you know, or even, you know, a celebrity that I'd put up with this nonsense because it potentially brings you publicity, or do you know what I mean? I'm just saying scenarios now. But if it's just a frustrating customer, why are you putting up with it? So last time I said, look, I'm not going to lie to you, mate. You're actually, your hair's harder to cut than anybody else's. You say it doesn't take long because you only have a 2 back size and a bit off the top. Then you want a bit off, then you don't want a bit off. Then it's too long, then it's too short. So you turn up late, then you put in pressure on because you need to go to a meeting and stuff. I said, you were my hardest customer. I said, I should be charging you double. So I said, look, the prices are going up on the next haircut. They're not just going up for you, they're going up for everybody. And unfortunately, I can't be doing main straights anymore. I can't keep track of it. And here's the golden nugget. Okay, here's the game changer. And my accountant has been on my case. And because my cash flow isn't adding up with my bookings. So say, for instance, now you've got a booking system and it tells you what your takings are at the end of the day, but the cash you bank is £50 less. Blame your accountant. To say, look, my accountant's on my case because I'm saying my website is saying, or my booking system is saying that we've taken £250 today, but I've actually only taken £180 because I'm giving everybody cheaper haircuts, and then I've still got to pay tax on that too because he's still doing my books on the rate that the computer says. And if I was to be investigated by Inland Revenue or HMRC or whoever does the investigation, how am I going to tell them, oh no, I didn't make that much because I give this one half price and I give that one half price and they paid cash, so I can't prove it. They're going to go, well, your booking system says this is how much you've taken. We'll give you maybe a little bit of leeway, 10, 15% off what that rate is, but you've still got to pay tax on 90% of that rate. So if you've given 50% of that away, then sorry, that's your problem. You're going to have to pay what your book says. Tell your customer that. Maybe not in that detail, but if you think like that, then you won't put up with their crap any longer. So again, it comes down to communication. So 2 situations you're going to face in the barbershop is going to develop Barber Block, and that is frustrating tools that aren't working as good as they were, so upgrade them or service them, or frustrating situations that normally involves other people. Well, you've just got to communicate. You've just got to stand up, take a deep breath, have a spoonful of cement, and deal with it. Deal with it head on, but politely and professionally. If it's a smelly customer, ask them to wash before they come in. If it's a frustrating customer that always wants a discount, tell them your prices are going up and you haven't got a say in it. Or your accountant's on your case and you've got to be stricter before you get slammed on tax. And I think if there's a member of staff, pull them aside and to say how you feel. And to say, look, if I was making you feel uncomfortable, I'd really want you to tell me. But unfortunately, it's the other way around, and I'm having to come and tell you. I really like you as a person. I know you mean well. But for some reason, this energy just isn't really working for me. And it's really making me feel frustrated in work. And I'm not prepared to deal with it much longer. So if we can fix this and, improve this environment and this atmosphere, I'll be more than happy to stay. But if unfortunately this carries on and you keep making me feel uncomfortable in work, then I'm going to have to look for somewhere else, which I don't want to do. But can we please fix this? And by telling them in person and pulling them aside and telling them politely and calmly, they'll appreciate it and they'll respect it. If you lose your rag in the shop and tell them in front of everybody, it's only going to make them get defensive. They're going to get their goat up and they're going to want to be even more annoying and frustrating to you because you've embarrassed and frustrated them. So don't do what they're doing to you. Pull them aside and be the bigger person and be the better person. But communication is key. So, your 2 keys to breaking out of that Barber Block nightmare is upgrade your tools and communicate regardless. If you want to or not, communicate and deal with it. And afterwards, you'll be glad you've done it. And if it means your customer stops coming back, great news. At least that's one problem less to worry about. If your colleague gets offended and leaves, great news. And if your smelly customer keeps coming back, then buy a peg and put it on your nose. So I hope that's helped. No one's chucked up any questions, so that tells me that I've answered everything in my presentation. If you do have questions, if you're watching this back because you didn't tune into the live and you have any questions or concerns about anything I've said, or there's something I've missed that you really need to know, please message us on the Barber Coach TV contact section. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. If you want to get hold of me quicker, do it through Instagram, _barber_coach. I tend to check that a lot more efficiently than I do my emails, but I do check my emails daily also if you'd rather send me an email through the Barber Coach TV. I've got some really exciting guests coming up soon. I've been fortunate enough to cut hair for some sporting celebrities, and I've asked them if they'd be interested to come on as guest speakers on the live seminars. And the goal for that is to hear a customer's perspective on barbering. So, for instance, one of my guest speakers is going to be Shane Williams, ex-Welsh international and British Lion, superb rugby player who's now retired but is doing Ironman events, as well as setting up multiple businesses, coffee businesses, gin companies. So he's got some business knowledge and experience. But at the end of the day, he was in the limelight with sport and he had some very questionable haircuts. And he's had many experiences in barbershops, cheap and expensive. So I'd like to ask him about his experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what he would change about his barbershop experiences, what he likes about them. And hearing it from a customer's perspective may give us then vision from outside looking in on things that maybe we need to change to upgrade our services and our salons to give a better experience to our clients. And as well as being a professional sportsman, he's then going to talk to us about more motivational things and inspirational stuff with regards to businesses and hard work and digging deep and motivating yourself. Because at the end of the day, whether you're a barber or a rugby player, we've still got to be disciplined, we've still got to be motivated, we've still got to work hard to be successful. So I'm hoping that Shane will be able to bring us that, as well as we're going to get some fantastic barbers on. Joe Cartmel has already agreed to come on and have a chat with us. Joe's already got a few videos on the Barber Coach TV, smaller, shorter methods, tips, tricks ones. I'm hoping to get some bigger ones on there from him, but he's achieved loads. He's got a huge following on Instagram. He's won loads of competitions, and he's just an all-round great guy. He's beaten cancer. You know, he's got such a magnificent story. So I'm really excited to get Joe on. I've got Freddie Woodman, a professional goalkeeper. I think England international under 18s, under 21s, played for Newcastle, played for Swansea City, now plays for Preston. His father's a professional coach, his coach at Arsenal, and now he's managing his own team. So Freddie's got some really great professional experience in sports, in sport, but also cares about his haircuts. So I'm going to be discussing all his experiences, good, bad, and the ugly, with regards to haircuts. So I'm really excited to get him on. And we've had many others agree. We haven't arranged any dates for them yet, so I'm not going to announce any names just as yet. But we already got Joe, Shane, and Freddie booked in, and the dates will be coming up on the Barber Coach TV live section. So keep an eye on that. And throughout the week, the live seminar page will be updated, and you'll see who I'm speaking to this week and when we're going to be speaking to them. So we don't get many people come on a Sunday. We've been doing these on Sundays because it's convenient for me, but I don't think it's that convenient for you guys. Not many people have been signing on to watch these live, but it's fine because I record this and then I'll be uploading this afterwards. You can always watch it back. But if you'd like to get involved and if you'd like to watch the live seminars, you can interact and ask questions, especially when the guest speakers come on, you'll be able to interact with them. Then let me know, send me a message or send me a comment on the times and dates that best suit you. And if I can find an average that suits everybody, then I'll get that date and time booked in. And hopefully then we can get a lot more people on here on these live interactions. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.